how much of what they say about the emotional impact of your bacterial colonies, or even like how much of your behavior is affected by these things living inside of you?
Well, by the way, I had no idea we were going to talk about this. This is what I love about you. Turn on the microphone and who knows, spin the wheel. I'll tell you one thing that's really interesting, toxoplasmosis.
Yes.
You know about that?
Yep, sure.
So in this book I just finished, by the way, the book I've been working on for years now, I sent it to the publisher, and there's a section in there where I talk about this concept that we are living communities, right? And there is no real individual in any sense. Everything's dimensional, But anyway, toxoplasmosis is fascinating. So what we know about the way it affects rodents is that it's a parasite that can only reproduce in the digestive system of cats.
Right.
So your cat shits it out. It's got these spores or eggs, larvae, or whatever in the cat shit, and it gets into the grass, and then rats and mice eat it. So as soon as it gets into the rodent, it migrates to the rodent's brain, and it affects the brain of the rodent in a way that makes the rodent get sexually excited by the smell of cat piss.
Yeah, wow.
So the rodent, which is normally terrified of cats, is suddenly like, ooh, I gotta go rub my face in some cat piss. And it also makes it like sluggish, like move slowly, and sort of jerk around to attract attention. So it completely takes over the rodent's behavior for its benefit, which is obviously to the demise of the cat, right? I mean, to the rodent.
Yeah.
So then the cat eats it, the thing's where it needs to be to reproduce, which is in the cat's digestive system, and so it goes. And there are many examples of this in nature. So some of this stuff that gets into us, it benefits us, but some of it can be very detrimental. There's another one that gets into the brains of, I think it's like beetles it's bees. It's bumblebees, and it's a larva of a wasp, and the wasp can actually inject these larvae into the bee in flight. It's like a mid-flight refueling kind of thing. And so it injects it into the back of the bee, and these larvae develop in the bee. They go to the bee's brain, and they have the bee not only like kamikaze into the dirt, but it'll like fly down, boom, hit the dirt, and then dig into the dirt, and then die an inch or so under the ground. And then it passes the winter in there. They hatch. They eat the bee's body from the outside, and then they come up through. It's
a horror story.
Okay, but here's what's interesting to me about that. How the hell did that evolve?
Yeah.
I'd see no way Darwinian theory can explain how that sort of thing could evolve. How can there even be a gene that could encode that kind of behavior? It's inconceivable.
I mean, this is one of the great mysteries. And if it did evolve, when did it happen? And then, God, it seems like this is, Crick wrote an essay on what's called, damn it, now the name isn't coming to my mind. It's really cool. It's the idea that the planet was seeded intentionally with DNA.
Oh, panspermia?
Yeah. Directed panspermia. So it's a way of like not being theistic, but being theistic, because when he looked at DNA, it seemed that the age of the Earth and the amount of time it would take for that series of evolutions to happen to create DNA, it didn't coincide with the age of the Earth. It would have taken much, 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 much longer for that kind of selection to happen, for any of it to form. So it was a mystery to him. So you could look up the essay, but to me, what's really interesting is the parallels between this and concepts of demonic possession. It's like this biological form of being possessed by something.
Yeah.
And when you think of your behavior patterns, how much of what you do is driven by cravings for food.
Yeah.
If you crave food, it's going to make you move in the direction of wherever the sugar is or the booze is or whatever the thing is you're craving. And especially with sugar, they're saying these are gut bacteria or colonies in your gut that are somehow sending out biochemical signals that are somehow emerging into your consciousness as the idea of like, fuck, man, I want an ice cream right now.
Well, there are as many neurotransmitters in your gut as there are in your brain.
Right.
So the idea that like follow your gut, like that, there's your heart, your gut, and your brain are the main centers for neurotransmitters. To get back to toxoplasmosis, it affects people's behavior as well.
Right.
There's a Czech scientist who's really into this, and he's demonstrated that people who are, I think it's like 40% of the population is infected with toxoplasmosis. Yeah. So if you've had cats, like I have, I definitely have it. You have a much higher elevated chance of having schizophrenia, higher chance of suicide, aggressive, like murdering someone, traffic accidents. Also, like women are more likely to have unprotected sex if they're infected with toxoplasmosis. Wow. There's all this kind of higher risk behavior.
Well, this is there's this beautiful occult principle, which is as above, so below. So it's a really curious thing, which is that the human organism gets infested with these colonies that destroy it, that can destroy you through your own behavior. That's what's wild about it. If you're addicted to sugar because your colonies of gut bacteria somehow are craving glucose or whatever, that'll kill you. It'll give you diabetes, and that'll change your behavior. Just eating sugar is going to make you act differently a little bit. So it's a really fascinating idea that the environmental destruction of this planet, if our behavior is in some way being shifted by the microorganisms living inside of us, then you could say we've been as a species possessed by some kind of like alien intelligence that
now you're provoking me, because this is my next book.
What's the next book?
It's called, the working title is The Human Swarm. And it's about how we are, in fact, controlled and possessed by an alien intelligence.
What's the alien intelligence?
Well, like I was talking about dimensions, right? How everything is dimensional. Like, you think of yourself as Duncan. I think of myself as Dr. Ryan.
Yes.
Dr. Trussell,
yes,
Dr.
sir.
Ryan. But in fact, as I said, you are, in fact, a community. Of organisms, most of which don't have your DNA in terms of body weight. If you remove all the water and just look at the mass, you've got more. There are more. You have more organisms in you with non-Duncan DNA than you have cells with Duncan DNA.
Right.
I mean, that's crazy. You know? So you're actually a minority in your own body.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
It's insane.